Please video like and subscribe this channel. The first explosion shook the palace like a dying star collapsing inward. Alarms screamed through the crystalline halls of Virilio's Prime, a sound unlike anything human ears were meant to hear, sharp, harmonic, almost sorrowful. Red light flooded the corridors as energy conduits ruptured beneath the marble-like floors. Fire, white and blue, erupted upward in violent columns. Ethan Cross froze only for a heartbeat. He was a human veteran assigned as a diplomatic escort, not a soldier anymore. His war days were behind him, at least that was what he told himself when he accepted a position escorting human ambassadors to alien courts. Virilio's Prime was supposed to be peaceful, ceremonial, safe. Then the ceiling split open. Princess Kylera, someone screamed in the alien tongue. Ethan turned toward the inner sanctum just as a blast of flame tore through the archway. The air became unbearable, heavy with heat and ionized smoke. Alien guards scattered, their elegant armor no match for the Inferno swallowing the palace. Kylera was still inside. Ethan didn't think. He never did in moments like these. Thinking was for afterward when the screams came back. He ran. The inner chambers were collapsing. Crystalline pillars shattered and fell like glass rain, embedding themselves into the floor. Flames crawled along the walls as if alive, feeding on the palace's bioreactive materials. Every breath burned Ethan's lungs. "Princess," he shouted, voice raw. Through the smoke, he saw her. Kylera lay pinned beneath a fallen beam of glowing stone, her elongated limbs trembling as she tried and failed to free herself. Her skin, luminescent silver with veins of soft violet light, flickered weakly. Her eyes met his. For a moment, time stopped. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't panicking. She simply stared at him, wide-eyed, as if trying to understand why a human was here, why he was here. "You must go," she said, her voice trembling through the translator embedded in Ethan's ear. "The fire feeds on fear. It will." The beam shifted as another explosion rocked the chamber. Ethan crossed the distance in seconds. He braced his shoulder against the beam, ignoring the heat blistering through his suit. Pain screamed through his muscles. "I didn't come all this way to listen to royal advice," he growled. "Hold on." He pushed. The beam didn't move. The ceiling groaned. Kylera's breathing grew shallow. "Human, please." Something inside Ethan snapped. He roared and shoved again, muscles tearing, skin blistering as the beam lifted just enough for Kylera to slide free. She collapsed into his arms, lighter than he expected, fragile as glass. The chamber began to cave in. Ethan wrapped her in his fire-resistant cloak and turned back toward the corridor, sprinting as flames chased them like predators. Debris fell around them. One wrong step meant death. They burst through the archway just as the sanctum collapsed entirely, sealing the Inferno behind them. The palace guards stared in stunned silence. Ethan dropped to his knees, coughing, clutching the princess to his chest. She was alive. The throne hall was filled within minutes. Alien nobles, generals, and priests gathered in concentric circles, their luminous eyes fixed on the human kneeling at the center. Princess Kylera sat beside him now, wrapped in ceremonial silks, her color slowly returning. At the highest dais stood Queen Veilrix. She was immense, even by alien standards, tall, regal, her presence pressing down like gravity itself. Her crown shimmered with ancient energy, and her gaze pierced Ethan as if stripping him bare. Silence stretched. Then the queen spoke. "You ran into sacred fire," she said, her voice echoing without amplification. "A fire not meant for your species." Ethan swallowed. "Yes, Your Majesty. You were not commanded." "No. You were not bound by treaty." "No. You knew you would likely die." Ethan glanced at Kylera, who watched him with something unreadable in her eyes. "Yes," he said quietly. The Queen descended one step. Why? Ethan hesitated. Truth rose unfiltered. Because leaving her there would have been worse. The hall murmured. Kylera inhaled sharply. The Queen studied him for a long moment, then raised her hand. Silence fell instantly. In our culture, Queen Vilrix said, a life saved from sacred fire creates a bond older than law. Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Princess Kylera, the Queen said, turning to her daughter, do you deny that this human pulled you from the Inferno? Kylera stood, unsteady but resolute. I do not deny it, Mother. I would be ash without him. The Queen nodded once. Then she turned back to Ethan. Human Ethan Cross, she declared, by the rights of Virelio's prime, your fate is now entwined with my daughter's. The words struck like thunder. I don't understand, Ethan said carefully. The Queen's eyes burned with ancient authority. You will. In the days that followed, Ethan learned what no human had ever been meant to know. The fire that consumed the palace was not an accident, it was a trial. A sacred ignition meant to test royal bloodlines. Kylera had never been meant to face it alone, yet tradition demanded isolation. No one had ever interfered. No one had ever survived the flames with a royal heir. Until now. The bond is irreversible, explained High Scholar Tarev as Ethan stood beneath a sky of drifting light orbs. The Queen's verdict binds you not by force, but by cosmic law. And what does that mean for me? Ethan asked. Tarev regarded him with curiosity. It means you are no longer merely human. Kylera approached, her presence calming, luminous. It means our lives affect one another now, she said softly. If you leave this world, part of me will wither. Ethan stared at her. That's insane. She smiled faintly. So is running into fire. He didn't have an answer to that. The final challenge came sooner than expected. A rival house challenged the Queen's verdict, claiming a human could not be bound to royal blood. Ancient law demanded proof, not of strength, but of choice. Ethan was given a single opportunity to walk away. No punishment. No exile. Freedom. Kylera stood beside him as the Queen offered the choice before the entire court. If you leave now, Vilrix said, the bond will shatter. My daughter will survive, diminished. You will return to your kind unchanged. Ethan looked at the stars above the open dome. He thought of war. Of fire. Of all the times he'd survived when others hadn't. Then he looked at Kylera. At the quiet strength in her eyes. At the future neither of them had chosen, but now shared. I'm not leaving, he said. The court erupted. The Queen raised her hand, silencing all. Then the verdict stands, she declared. Let it be known across the stars, the one who pulled the princess from the Inferno is bound to her fate forever. Kylera reached for Ethan's hand. This time, he didn't pull away. Years later, when humans and aliens spoke of the day everything changed, they didn't talk about the fire. They talked about a man who ran toward it. And a queen whose verdict reshaped destiny. End.